You are watching Leicester Till I Die TV.
Watch us on YouTube.
Listen on your favourite podcast platform.
Or ask your smart speaker
To play the podcast Leicester Till I Die.
Right, Chris.
All right. Just thought I'd just show you Kate doing her hair then. But we will bring her back in earlier. Oh, I love. I'm a sod, aren't I? Good evening. I have absolutely no idea what's going on. I'm still drunk from Saturday. But good evening, good day, good morning, good afternoon, good night, goodbye. Hello. That tickled me, but then it doesn't take an awful lot. This is LTID TV1 from Leicester Till I Die. Thank you for joining us for the Monday night debate show. Let's talk Leicester. And because I am still probably a little bit tipsy from Saturday, we've got absolutely no plan, so we'll just dive in and just see where it takes us. But we are going to be talking all things Leicester City. That is one thing you can be sure about. Right, let me say I have got two guests. Dave, still not with us. He's not well. We wish him all the best. Keep rubbing the cream in, Dave, and you never know, the swelling might go down, but you should always ask for a health certificate before you go in those places. You know that, don't you? But let me bring my well, I nearly said chum. I don't know, but we'll see how he's doing. Brad, hello. Oh, look at that, little Brad. There we go.
Well, it's been a while since someone said, "Oh, look, little Brad" to me, mate. So I'm doing all right, mate. I'd ask how you're doing, but I've heard you're still drunk.
I am. I heard that. No, I'm not going to go there with the little Brad.
No, stop now. I have to put you on a leash, mate. Sorry.
Let us bring in. I think she's finished doing her hair now, so we can bring her in and say hello, Kate.
That was very slidey. That was.
Oh, I know. I love it.
It was in the middle of my L'Oreal moment.
Well, I could hear the music going as you run your fingers through the hair. That's what happens, isn't it?
Yeah.
You don't get that with Head and Shoulders, I tell you.
No, you don't, because I'm worth it.
Mind you, I suppose you've got to have hair, which is sort of where I fall down. But how are you?
Yes,
well?
good, thank you. Yeah, really good, thanks. Fresh off a weekend with my ladies on a wine tour in Kent, so I too have still got some alcohol in me.
And you were looking down your nose at me because I'd left half a shoe somewhere between my flat and the Blue Ball Pub.
I had both shoes. I was still okay on that regard.
Did you notice, Brad, there's a gap then? I had both shoes, but...
Yeah. The word "had" was in there as well, Chris, that I noticed.
Yeah, true. That is true. We won't ask you what you didn't have. I won't ask a lady that. And if we had a lady in here, we wouldn't ask her, would we? But
no.
Welcome. Yeah, exactly. Oh, she's going to fit in well here. Kate, let me start with you, ladies first. We've just finished a 101-year City drought, I believe.
Oh, for 3 wins on the bounce?
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. I was reading about that today. I couldn't quite believe it. I was like, what are they talking about? I saw the headline and then obviously clicked in and read the article, which is quite obviously good, but also a bit worrying that it's been a century.
I mean, in fairness, we've not sort of We've obviously in there. We've had a lot more. Let's remember last season we had 3 losses. But I mean, Brad, we'll have had some draws in there as well, so it won't be good. All bad news. But yeah, 101 years since we won our first 3 games.
Yeah, it feels strange to say that. You'd have thought, answers on a postcard would probably been the League One days would have been 3 wins in a row. So obviously we must have had a draw there. Obviously, because that was less than 101 years ago. But yeah, it's a good start. Enzo Ball's into first gear, so more to come of it. It's a nice start. Faring a lot better than most.
Yeah, indeed. James is in, so we'll say good evening to James. How are you? And the check's in the post, mate. Oh, I shouldn't say that these days, should I? The payment is on its PayPal way to you, sir. Best Leicester channel on YouTube. Oh, I like the cut of that man's jib. Stuart's in, he says hello. Mountain Man from Arizona in the good old US of A. Good morning, sir. How are you? James says, evening, Chris and Kate. He obviously doesn't like you, Brad.
Hello, right?
I can't believe. But then Stuart makes up for it and says, hi, Brad.
Hi, Stuart.
We've got a Facebook user in. Look, I've said this, and I'll say it again here. I'm going to say it probably a few more times. But if you're watching on Facebook, click on the link that allows you or allows StreamYard to access your details. There's nothing you've got to download, charge. All it means is that I can see who we're talking to. If you don't stick your name at the end of your conversation, I have no idea who you are, and I will basically ignore you, as I'm doing with that one. Stuart Russell also says, hello, Kate. So I see, I'm left out of that one, you see. So, no, it's Kate's not left out of anybody. It's just you and me, Brad.
Well, I know favouritism over here or what,
We'll let her get on with it. Go on, Kate.
No, come back.
Hey, it's the Arizona Massive. Nate is in. Good evening, Nate. How are you? We've got two American fans, and both of them are in Arizona, and neither of them have met each other.
Small world, isn't it, considering how big America is?
I was going to say, Arizona's probably about the size of Wales, isn't it? And James eventually comes up and says, sorry, Brad, evening to you as well. Now, look, guys, I'm not one that revels in ex-players' discomfort or,
Oh, sorry.
What? I know, I'm not. But I thought Yuri Tielemans was kind of an attacking midfielder.
Oh, he is.
Oh, I thought so. But today, Mr. Good Evening, and I've forgotten his name, but somebody will remind me. Emery, Mr. Board, he has come out and said that he wants to buy an attacking midfielder. Oh, dear.
Oh, dear. Well, I suppose you could argue that Tielemans is an attacker of some sense, because he definitely attacked the bench for most of the game in his debut. I mean, grass not always greener. Goes and joins a European club in Aston Villa, goes and gets beat 5-1. It's an hard life, isn't it, being a footballer these days, apparently. Go and sit on a bench and watch your new team lose 5-1.
Yes. And what makes it worse, Kate, is, of course, Harvey Barnes sat on the bench on Newcastle, came on, scored a goal, and was in the side that won 5-1.
Yeah, I know. Unbelievable. Came on after about 25 minutes, didn't he?
Yeah.
I just saw flash scores, so I presume it must have been an injury. But yeah, very different days for the pair of them.
What are your thoughts on Tielemans? Because I was very much of sod off, and I hope your career dies a death and burns, because I think the way that he treated the club, he could have very easily signed a new contract with loads of get-out clauses in, which would have allowed us to get some money. As it was, we didn't get a penny from him. And when you look at Harry Maguire and the way that he signed a new contract so that we got something off Man United, they were daft enough to give us 80 million. But what's your sort of? I mean, obviously we'll love him for scoring the FA Cup goal, of course we will. But he did kind of tarnish his image at the end for me.
Who are you saying that to?
To Kate, sorry. The clue was in there because I said Kate.
I was going to say, not me, Kate. It's always his favourite that goes first.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. I think he could have signed a 2-year extension or something to give us, some money for him in the end. Because losing that type of player, which was a linchpin of the team, really, for nothing, is just where the Bosman ruling is absolutely terrible. But I never doubted his commitment on the pitch. I think a lot of people might say the last few months of last season were questionable, but he's only human. And if he knew he wasn't going to stay around if we got relegated, I do think he'd have signed if we'd have stayed up. Because I know that he likes living in this area and still continues to live in Corn, I think he lives. So it's just a pity that he didn't do the gentleman's thing and sign a contract extension, which is really frustrating. So yeah, I still stand by that. I think Villa will struggle this season. A lot of people disagree with me because of their purchases, but I still think Villa will struggle.
I think looking at that first game, I think you're right. But yes, I mean, it's interesting to say that despite all this, he was linked with here, there and everywhere, that he chose to go to Villa. And I think that does show that, it was within travelling distance, Brad, and he could stay where he was with his kids in the schools and what have you and not have to move.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense, doesn't it? He wanted European football. I'm not so sure with what Kate said in regards to him signing. If we'd have stayed up, I still think he'd have left us in the lurch for free. Just purely based on the fact that he wanted European football. It was a quick drive up the road in a sense to Villa, so it was an easy move for him to make. The sort of comment you put up there about his work ethic, we got warnings throughout his whole career that he seems to be very crap on his stamina. He does not have the capability of his stamina to play 2-3 games a week. I think the Championship would be eaten alive. I mean, I would wonder if you look at what we fetched. Let's say he did sign a new contract. Let's say hypothetically he signed a 2-year contract with no clauses to it. Based on his performances last season, you considering that and the fact that we're in the Championship, right? We just sold Maddison for 40 million. We sold Barnes for 38, 39 million. Split the difference in pennies. But my question is, they actually put the effort in and was probably the reason we were able to hold on to some form of value and resell. What would Tielemans have actually sold for? Because I don't think you'd have paid 20 million for him.
No, but at least it would have been something, wouldn't it?
I know, I get that, but I don't think he'd have been as much as what we were hoping for before last season.
Yeah. Well, look, at the end of the day, we can all sit and laugh at him. I mean, Geordie Toon's just come in. Great start for the season for Leicester. Hopefully, it will keep going. Cheers, Geordie. And a great start for you. How is, you seem to be looking after Harvey Barnes. My only thing is, Kate, I don't know if you... I mean, I made the mistake last week, having beaten Coventry, of thinking, 10:30 Saturday night, I'm going to watch the game. And of course, we're not on Match of the Day anymore, are we? So it's 9 o'clock on ITV4. But this week, to see Harvey Barnes, I wish he'd come up with a new celebration.
I know. And a little bit of me felt when I saw his celebration, he didn't look anywhere near as happy as when he scored for us. It's just kind of going with the flow a bit now. It's not the boyhood club anymore, is it? But I'm pleased for him. Yeah. He was one of my most frustrating players last year, and I can honestly say I wasn't that sorry to see him go because his work rate going back was terrible. But going forward on his day, if he thinks he's got the full back, he'll give you a great game. So we'll just see what happens with some of the teams that he's struggled with in the past.
He'd gone as far as he could do under Rodgers, and Rodgers, although he had this great name for being a great coach and bringing the youngsters through, he brought them to a certain level, but then he couldn't seem to take them any further. Thomas got to a level and then stopped. Kieran Dewsbury-Hall went to a level and then stopped. And I think, to me, Barnes did as well. But do you think Eddie Howe, great manager, let's be honest with you, since he stepped down from Bournemouth, the way that he went and learned things at other clubs, could he literally take Barnes to that next level?
I don't really know Eddie's history with young players, to be honest. I think the freshness of the team and a new job, if you like, will help Barnes quite a lot. I don't think Brendan covered himself in glory in any of the younger players. Thomas, KDH, players like that, even JJ to a degree before his injury. So I think, like anything, I think he'll be reinvigorated with a fresh start. Like we've seen with a few of the Leicester players under Enzo, like he's opened their minds, he's made them a bit more dynamic. He's trying to turn them into positive footballers, fill in the box, which I think he said to KDH in particular, you can't score if you're not in the box. So I'd like to think he probably would have done that with Barnes a bit, really, getting him into more prominent, positive positions. Because Barnes find himself in those very often. He was always hanging on the touchline, or when we were out of possession, he was kind of just chasing shadows a bit, really.
No, I agree. And like you say, it's that new manager coming in. I mean, look at the players. I'm going to come to you, Brad, about your favourite player. I mean, Mr. Vestergaard, he's got a year to go. He said he wants to go, but then we do know that 6 players have come along and said don't want him to go. They've changed. They said we want to sort of stay. Now, whether he's one of those or not, I suppose we'll never know unless he signs a new contract. He seems to be in, and I know this is going to really hurt Kate, but he seems to be in Enzo's plans. And even Greg said he had a good day Saturday. I'm not used to us not playing on Saturdays. But is that a case of Enzo can maybe get a tune out of these players that we've classed as being a certain standard, but a new manager comes in and gets a new tune out of them?
Yeah, there's always a case, and this is why I always say, no matter my opinion on a player at a current point in their career at Leicester, they'll always get a fresh start come the start of a new season. I'm never ever been enamoured with Vestergaard. I don't know if I've ever mentioned it before. I might have let it slip once or twice. I don't like him.
Really?
Yeah, I know. I keep it well hidden, don't I? I'm really good at that. But no, for me, Vestergaard is one of them. Look, he's not suddenly going to be. I'm not suddenly going to be one of them players that suddenly goes, "Oh, he's the best thing since sliced bread." Yeah. We always knew that, really. No, he's still got a lot to prove, but he's probably got 7 weeks where, whether me or Kate like it or not, he's going to be in that defence because Cody has probably still got 6 or 7 weeks of recovery from his injury, and then probably a week or two on the training ground. So probably for the first quarter of the season, we're going to have to get used to seeing a lot of Vestergaard. And look, 18 months ago, if you would have told me, Chris, Vestergaard's going to play for Leicester one time in the league and he's going to keep a clean sheet, I would have left the stream. I'd have walked to your house, knocked on the door, cancelled the stream, and dragged you to the house and thrown you in there myself because I thought you were talking absolute barking rubbish. And yet, here we are. He's played 90 minutes in a 1-0 win against Huddersfield. I do think the drop down in the division has really helped a lot of players maybe feel like they're going to get a second chance under him, finding their level in the nicest term. But look, if he's going to do well, I'm going to give him praise. When he has a bad game and plays like his usual donkey self, that's when I'll get justified again.
Kate, I mean, I know you weren't impressed with him after the Coventry game. Can he turn your opinion round? I mean, he's had. Did he play against Burton? He didn't, did he? So he's played 2 games. We've won both games. One of those was a clean sheet. One we only let one in. And I know, you're saying that he was at fault for maybe a couple of efforts that other teams would have got in. But we're in the second tier now. And let's be honest with you, Coventry, I mean, they beat Middlesbrough at the weekend. That's the standard we're facing. We're not facing Liverpool, Man United. And no disrespect, we are facing teams in the division below. And maybe if he gets a good run, and we all know he'll probably step down when Cody's fit. We know that. But what could he do to convince you, or can't you do anything? If he's at it, he's useless. Get rid of him.
Oh, like anybody in my team, if they put a consistent set of performances together, anything's possible, right? But I just can't see it with Vestergaard because some of his weaknesses, i.e. pace, you can't practice pace. You've either got it or you've not. And when I think, what is he, 30, 31? It's escaped him. I just don't like that he's not aware of his own restrictions. But anybody can convince me when they play for us if they've got heart and determination and they put some consistent performances together. But yeah, I think he'll be out on his ear when Cody comes back.
Yeah, I think we'll be honest because I know, Brad, that Enzo is talking that he wants probably another centre back, and we'll look at sort of the different positions he wants, but that is one of the positions. So that kind of says that obviously Cody's going to stay. Face looks like he's a new player born again. Doyle, although we've only got him for the season, but all those three are probably going to be starting above Vestergaard. Sutar, the rumours are that he's talking to another club in Italy about him. He could be on his way out already. So probably it is only a step. But then again, at least we might get something for him.
Yeah. You know what? In terms of recent history, Vestergaard's gone up in my estimations if I was to rank Leicester players in recent ones, because Perez, one thing Vestergaard's managed to do that Perez never did for me was put in a performance where I looked at it and went, you actually had a good game throughout. Perez never managed that for me. He might have had a good spell in a game, but he never had a good throughout 90 minutes. So he went up the list there. And then when Perez was sold, I look at the Sutar situation, and I think in terms of how short he's been at the club, where we got him from, the division we're playing in corresponds to where we got him from, i.e. with Stoke, and he's been too tired to play 2 Saturdays, Saturday, and now he wants to leave. I would statistically say he is our most pointless signing ever, and that's up there with Vicente Diabate, Bartos Capuzzo, because at least they probably knew that was a rough signing that never worked. Silva, yeah, but Andre Silva, you always got the feeling that was a fax too late. 14 seconds the other side, and we might have got a fit, ready Silva, and he might have been a different player. Silva was unfortunate. I think you always had that.
And Kramaric, another one.
Yeah, Kramaric.
He's done really well since leaving us.
Yeah, and I think he was unfortunate as well. But in terms of why did you bother signing for us, Sutar holds the number 1 shirt for me. Because why did you bother coming to Leicester? It wasn't just the bell end who made excuses for not picking him. Smith made excuses with the too tired to play 2 games. Really? Because I'd take an injection of anything to play 2 games a week for Leicester for that amount of money you're on, you lazy git. And now Enzo's making excuses for him not being in the squad. We've had tired, tactical and technical. I think the other T is Tosser, if that's the case for him. Get him out of the club if that's the case.
Get off the fence.
I'll put a £5 in a swear jar, Chris. I'll put a £5 in a swear jar. I'll put it in. I'll send it over PayPal. Sorry, guys, but I have to make a connection. Look, be grateful it was that word and not something else.
Let me come to the polite one. I mean, Sutar, he didn't look bad, did he, when he was playing for us? Obviously, something has gone on at the training ground, you would think.
Yeah, I thought he looked okay, to be honest. I thought he was quite good on the ball. I thought his positional play was quite good. I thought Fast looked quite comfortable next to him. He wasn't as good as Stunchu at all. But maybe Stunchu was just a bit more adjusted to the Premier League. But yeah, I had no problem with him at all, and I was quite interested to see where he'd go this year. But there's obviously some kind of problem, because there's a couple of managers now that have shied away from it. And it honestly wouldn't surprise me if Brendan's just pissed some money up the wall. Sorry, I've sworn as well, to screw us over.
Twice? I mean, how is...
Chris is going to be able to retire twice. To retire from work and retire from this show if we keep swearing, Kate.
If anybody does have any issues relating out to this show, the Samaritans are 800.
But yeah, it wouldn't surprise me if Brendan just wasted some money, thought, he seemed to be doing something and has wasted money on it.
But when Sutar and Faze and Christensen came in, and Christensen looks on his way out as well, they were all here under Martin Glover. Martin Glover was actually involved in those, wasn't he?
Is he not injured, Christensen? Is he definitely out of favour?
See, this is what I said. This is what I said to counteract the lazy journalism. Just because Christensen's not being picked, he's injured.
I can only say what I read.
Enzo said it himself.
For 2 weeks, we will know in 2 weeks, I guess, won't we? But they were all Glover signings, which was recruitment guy. So we can't really put all the blame on Rodgers. And Sutar, like I say, I thought he looked good when he first came in.
Yeah, absolutely. But I suppose if Enzo's looked at what we need in defence versus what we're going to be up against in this league, I really don't know.
The problem is, I think, Brad, is when you've got a new manager coming in, no matter how good certain players are, if that player doesn't fit into your, style of play, your formation, etc., then you might as well let them go rather than keep them there on
Wasn't
a
there
wave.
rumours that Brendan trialled him up front in quite a few training games? I'd be happy for that because some of our striking options have looked a little bit minimal.
Are we on about Sutar now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I think
You
Brendan,
know when you've gone back to Vestergaard or not?
I think Brendan tried him in some training games up top.
Yeah, but yeah, to go back to your question there. The thing is, I agree with Kate in the fact they didn't do. It's not anything he's done on the pitch that's made me annoyed with him because he looked solid, he looked dependable. I just get Kevin and Perry syndromes from him. He feels like he started to sulk and strop. Something must have happened with him and Brendan, and it's like he can't get over it because Smith couldn't get over it, and I know maybe that's because a certain scolded child was taken out the under-23s. He should never have been there, and was brought back into the team ahead of him, which is right. Solanke is a far better defender than Sutar. But like you said, Enzo came in. 6 players were pretty much thinking, "Wow, I haven't been able to crack it here at Leicester. I want to move on." And he's gone, "No, I'm impressed with what I'm seeing." And now these 6 people, whoever they may be, have decided to give Enzo a chance at least for the year. It just feels like he's still, and that's where I was expecting, and I think a lot of players were expecting. Wow, Faze, Sutar, Doyle, we're going to have a midfield, defensive 3 of these 3, brilliant, yes, come on. And it feels like Sutar's still going, "Oh, it's not fair, I'm tired, I can't play." It just feels like you feel like you're just dealing with a bratty child. I don't know what it is, why he's being the way he is, why he's getting away with it. But yeah, get rid of him then if that's how his attitude is. Get some money back for him because, honestly, apart from probably the first 3 or 4 games of his Leicester career, what's he done? Apart from TTTs all the time. I won't repeat the words, but you know what I mean. Apart from being tired and not technical.
Yeah. I just want to say, Geordie, and he says here, just going back to an old comment, I didn't see it actually, said he wasn't going to mention Barnes out of respect, but when Kate mentioned him, I politely replied nothing more. Mate, I have absolutely no problem with Barnes going to you because you've got Barnes and, in fairness, Maddison. Neither of them actually were knocking on the door asking to leave that we know of. And it's not bad to say that we got 80 million for 2 players when we just got relegated. So, I understand those going. That was a case we had to go.
And I don't think Barnes, like you said there, Chris, just to add on to that, I don't think Barnes would have minded if he'd have stayed at Leicester and been in the Championship. I think he was up for the challenge regardless. But when someone like Newcastle comes knocking, you're not going to deny the lad the opportunity. It's a fair play to him.
Blue Fox earlier said, and I'm just, if you're wondering, if you are putting your questions in, and I did say put your questions into the chat, they are being starred so that I can go back to them. So you're not being ignored, but just I'm just waiting for sort of the right time to ask them. But he says there, what's happening with oh God, Cesare. Yeah. Caesar, let's just call him Caesar. They said earlier that they hope to complete it tonight. Apparently, the problem was there was a delay, I think, in Chelsea selling somebody. Was it?
I'd hate to be the one balancing Chelsea's book right now.
Wow, I mean the way he's
Moses Casido. Who's gone from Brighton. Until they got him in, they wouldn't let it known that they wouldn't let Caesar go. Why can't we just have English players?
I'm sorry, but I have to admit it is kind of funny. Chelsea have a habit of stealing signings under teams' nose, don't it? I still remember when they infamously stole Willian from Tottenham, who did like a medical and whatever at Tottenham and then went Chelsea. Two, if the other ones we believe Chelsea have signed under Liverpool's nose is absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah. And they've actually every money pound that they've spent in this transfer window, they've actually virtually recouped from sales. But they did have a lot of sales to spend. So now that Casido looks like he's going Kate, looks like he's going to go to Chelsea. That now releases, and he hasn't got a squad number. He wasn't on the bench at the weekend. This guy really does. I'm excited by him.
Yeah, I am as well. He's got a good rep. He's obviously very desired. There's quite a few clubs coming for him. Enzo's apparently worked his magic. And it probably suits him to be in an English club, playing the English way. So, I'm really excited by it. I like it that we're buying some forward players, mix things up a bit, and that will help change the style of play to what Enzo wants, really.
He got the golden boot for most assists. I might have been for goals as well at the Euros, at the under 20 Euros, Brad. But this guy, this feels like this is the Yuri Tielemans replacement. And I know Chelsea would prefer him to go to a Premier League club, apparently. He wanted to go to Genoa. So I do feel maybe like we are a bit of a middle case. But what they've said, as Kate rightly pointed out there, Chelsea like the style that Enzo plays. And they're quite happy to let him come here.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, it benefits. 2 seconds, Chris. Let me just ban that comment that's just come up. It's our old friend Bit. I just got rid of it.
I thought your mother was ringing again.
No, if it was my mother, I'd just have to go because I'm already in trouble because she's a Cov fan. But yeah. I think it benefits both clubs, doesn't it? Because, like Kay said, he stays in England. He plays in an English side's league, so he's not going to go over to Italy and have to. I know he's Italian himself, so it wouldn't take him too much to do. But you're playing in a different league, a different style of football, so he gets that. So worst case scenario is he has a really good season for us. We fingers crossed get promoted, and he plays a big part in that. And Chelsea get a very good up-and-coming midfielder to maybe force his way into their first team. Or, Chelsea keep buying midfielders. He makes a damn good impression. And like you said in regards to Yuri Tielemans, we make that loan a permanent one. You never know.
Kate, we're talking. I mean, we've actually, I think we bought 3 loaned one or loaned 2, have we, or something? Do you think this is we're going the right way as a club and not just going out and buying? Because if we do buy a lot of players and then we don't go up, we could be up the creek without a paddle, as they say.
Yeah, absolutely. It's such an unpredictable season because the plan is to go up, but we have to forecast and plan for not achieving that first time round. You don't want to be left with high wages because parachute payments come to an end after 3 years. So we've just got to be a bit cautious and a bit tentative with who we sign and for how long. And, I'm hoping that obviously we get back up next year and we can maybe sign 1 or 2 of these players on a permanent, but we just can't get ahead of ourselves. And I think that shows our nous, really. We've done it before. We've got experience in this type of area now. And we've got some really good money for some of the players that we've lost. And hopefully we can just rebuild again.
Yes, yeah. The next one that I want to put to you, if I can just go back and find it. Now, this is an interesting one. This is going to be very difficult, and it's a difficult question. So, okay, I'll give it to Brad first. I'll give you a bit of thinking time.
Favoritism, Kate. You can then take notes from my answers and which ones are right, which parts are wrong, and give yours. I'll see how it is.
I don't. If you've ever seen Brad in a quiz, do not take any.
No, that's not fair. That's not fair. Kate generously took my role as bottom of the league, which I'm still wanted to get that bonus point. Kate, I asked for justice for you.
Still raw, mate. Still raw.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh my God! Why do I feel a chill down my back? Mountain Man says, "What side do you think will give us the most trouble this season, Brad?" So it's a difficult one. In fairness, because we're only 2 games in.
I think somebody actually similar to Huddersfield, really. You look at Neil Warnock, he had them compact, he had them defending. I had to watch about 30 highlight videos to figure out what happened in the game, but I was managed to piece it together. You're probably looking at somebody like Ipswich Town, I think. They will be fearless in attack, but they've also got the mentality and the mindset and the right group of players to really, frustrate us in trying to bring them out. They won't fall into a trap which other teams might not have any control over because of how Leicester go about it. But I think Ipswich Town would be the team for us that I think might unstick us. Yeah, because I just think they're a newly promoted side. They've been out the start of Championship football for years. They've obviously got off to a great start because they're top of the league. They're beating us on goal difference on that front. And I think we're seeing that they're probably going to be one of the teams that they won't care that Leicester have a style of play like that. They'll go at it. They'll be cautious about it when it needs to be, and then they'll wait for Leicester to have that dodgy pass or whatever it is and take that opportunity. So, yeah, I would say nailing it down to one team, Ipswich Town.
Kate?
I was going to say Ipswich.
Do
Actually, what?
you know, funny enough, I was thinking Ipswich as well.
Oh, I see.
Instead, I'm going to say potentially teams like Stoke and Millwall in terms of how they set up. I just think we're still in that position from what I've seen from our play right now that we still struggle with teams that put 10 men behind the ball.
Yeah.
We're good at keeping possession, but breaking down, having those quick passes to kind of tear open defences. I still think we struggle with that. And that was one of our massive downfalls in the Prem, really. We couldn't carve teams open. We don't play the through ball. I've still not seen it. So, yeah, I think teams like that are just used to being very, very defensive, like Huddersfield were at the weekend, really. It presents problems for us. But if we get someone like this Caesar bloke, like you've just said,
what's he called? What's he called, Kate?
Cassaday, I think it says. Cassaday. Then hopefully you can be a Yuri and ping the ball about and properly orchestrate the midfield. That's exactly what we need because we're all right getting the ball there and then through to Winks. And it is getting better. It's getting quicker. It's getting slicker. There's some really good moves from the weekend from the highlights that I saw. So I just think those teams that set up against us to just defend and catch us on the break, which is where Vestergaard scares me to death. That's our problem.
You hadn't criticised him for 10 minutes. I thought you were warming to him.
That's the thing, isn't it? If it's a attack versus attack, I think he's okay.
Yeah.
If he catches on the break, he just comes too high up because he doesn't know his limitations and a ball over the top and they're in. So, yeah.
You would hope that Enzo will be able to get that out of him, though, wouldn't you? But,
just hang back and not be a sweeper in those kind of situations. Just hang back.
I mean, it looks, in fairness, like we've got another 7 weeks without Cody. Because they said he was out for 10 weeks and he's missed 3. Well, 2, so it might be another 8 weeks. So,
Enzo did say it was 10 weeks from when the injury occurred. So they've judged that back from the pre-season game. So from whenever that was, he might be, I would say, 2nd to 3rd week in September, if you include getting back up to fitness, could be back.
Interested to see what Mountain Man thought would be the side.
Who do you think Mountain Man? For me, you see, I think, like you say, Ipswich, Sheffield Wednesday, Plymouth, they're going to have a good start when they come up because nobody's, the new teams, they're not used to them. It's like these teams when they first get promoted, like Blackpool were top of the league at one point at the start of the season when they got promoted to the Prem. So they will be going for it. They'll just want to kind of consolidate this season. For me, it is teams like Huddersfield, Rotherham, QPR, Birmingham, Stoke, those teams that were just above the relegation zone last year. That probably, I mean, Birmingham, okay, they've got a new owner, they've got the guy in from the NFL.
Yeah, Tom Brady, yeah.
Tom Brady, yeah.
He'll be deflating balls to them, won't he?
Yeah. And I just think those are the teams that who know that they're going to struggle, they know that they're going to be in that relegation fight, are, like you said, Kate, they're going to put men behind the ball and they're just going to try and frustrate us. But as Enzo said, and I think you said this as well yesterday, Brad, sometimes we might have to wait till the 70th minute for the goal. And that's... I'm older than you two, probably put together, but I can remember pre-Fergie at Man United when Liverpool were the dominant force. Even if they won 1-0 down, there was never any panic. they would keep to the same style of play. All right, they might change the formation, but they didn't sort of just say, okay, we better boot the ball upfield. They had the game plan, and obviously because of the success, 9 times out of 10, they won the games. But by sticking to that, and that's probably what we're going to have to do, and I don't think we're going to see a lot of 4, 5, 6-0 wins this season. I could be wrong,
Yeah.
It's not often I am, but I might be. Who knows? But that's the ones for me. Blue Fox here, Brad. Everson, come to you first. Everson may go to Palace. I think we touched on that yesterday, didn't we?
Yeah, I think that's been cemented. Not, Stoichek was in goal against Burton, and I was kind of just waiting to see. Well, firstly, if Madsen was going to be fit, which he wasn't, and then it's a case of right, who's he putting in goal? Is he going to go with Stoichek again because he's got minutes under his belt, or are we going to see who's the number 2? And when you saw Stoichek in the lineup, that just told me who your 3 goalkeepers are for this season, which is going to be Hermadsen as number 1, Stoichek is the number 2, and Alex Smith is the break glass in case of emergency goalkeeper. So I think he deserves to be a number 1. And if that's going to be at Crystal Palace, that's kind of where I put his level at. I did say low league, Premier League, if he was going to go Premier League. So Crystal Palace, if he does go, we might get a mil for him, something like that. So all the best, a little bit of money in the back pocket, and again he goes with great admiration from Leicester fans because he does deserve to be a number 1. He doesn't deserve to be sitting number 2, and especially not number 3. Best to let him go if he's not fitting in the order where he wants to be.
Are you surprised, Kate, that Stoichik has I know we could be pronouncing that wrong, but you're surprised that he's jumped up into that what looks like number 2 position?
Yeah, really surprised. I thought Everson didn't really do a lot wrong last year. He's by no means the finished article, but I don't think any of our keepers are. So it's quite interesting that it seems to be a firm final decision that they are his top 2. So, I mean, Mads looks really good, doesn't he? So I don't deny. In Enzo, we trust, right? I think everything so far is going to plan of some sorts, and it's a work in progress. And I've not had reason to question a lot, really, because we're still very much in progress.
I want to come to you, stick with you, Kate, sorry, because I actually put this to Brad and Craig in yesterday's show. And it was something that Brad said a while ago, which was, with these 3 wins, he hasn't got the albatross around his neck anymore, Enzo. Is he going to win? Is he going to get his first win? New manager coming in, all these changes, still not won a game 5 games in. So he's got that out. But then, of course, the other albatross is, if we carry on like this, and everybody says we're going to win it and we're going to walk it and all this, that, and the other, but is it a case of, well, let's just get that loss out of the way and then we can forget about it? Because the longer it goes on, is that putting extra pressure on the team?
Yeah, it is, I think. And I'm often, particularly with sport, the real test is when things go wrong. How quickly can you regroup? That's whether you concede in the first 5 minutes, or we went 1-0 down to Coventry. We had a really shaky 15 minutes and we regrouped. We didn't regroup at all under Brendan. It seemed to just snowball into disaster. So I think we will lose at some point. We'll probably lose within the next couple of months, but it's how you regroup after, the nature of the loss, because that will show Enzo who's up for the fight as well, I think, and who learns from mistakes.
Yes, yeah. I just think, it would be great, and we're not going to go through the season unbeaten. We're not going to do an Arsenal, I don't think, at all. But it as good as it would be, but I don't think my nails would stand another season like the Premier League, where you're just waiting for us to cock up, and we didn't. Brad, come to you first with this one. How many players, says Scott, does the panel think will leave before September, and can you name them? Wow, that's a loaded question. And I was reading today. Sorry, I'll just build you into this here, Brad. So I was learning today that depending who goes will obviously depend on who comes in. and I know you don't necessarily want to hear this, but if one of two, either with Daka or even Iheanacho, because he's only got a year left, and I know they're starting to talk to him about it, but if he goes, then another attacking midfielder, stroke striker may be the thing. But, you know, I know you're not going to say Iheanacho, and he might go, who knows, Brad, but how many do you think will still go?
It's probably easier for me to go through the names because I'll probably say 4 or 5 and then end up naming 6.
Do you want me to, do you want me to go through the squad for you?
Yeah, go on.
No, don't make such a quick decision because I've got to bring the whole thing up first.
Well, I think Iverson's going. I think he gets rid of Iverson and Ward, so you can rule the keepers out. Sutar can, well, you know my opinions on him, the way he's been portrayed at the moment, so he goes as well.
Castagna?
Who?
Castagna?
Yeah, Castagna. I don't think I'm not going to include people who I think we should go out on loan, but I will mention Luke Thomas as maybe going out on loan because I think with the options we've got that can play that position, he's not going anywhere. So I keep forgetting we haven't got the likes of a Martin out there to throw under the bus.
Oh, damn it.
I mean, look.
Yeah, I know, right?
I said yesterday, Kate. I said we've got. I'll bring you. We'll have a general discussion on this. But I said if we'd had those those number of goalkeepers last year, would Brendan have been able to keep us up? I don't know. I mean, never seen so many players on the Leicester City side.
No,
But,
I know, right?
but 2 of them are going to go, and I don't think it's going to be Smithers because he's just here. If he's got 1 more year left and he's cheap, let's be honest with you, and he is that ultimate, stopgap if we need him. Stolchok looks like he's going to be number 2, doesn't it? And
Yeah. Ward and Iverson are going. I'd say they've got to go.
Yeah, I'm thinking Ward's going there, and Everson. Is Ward expensive? I don't know.
He was 12 million when he came in, wasn't he?
Yeah, another brilliant genius money move by Brendan there.
Was he? No, I think it was pre-Brendan, wasn't he?
I don't know, but it was still a genius move. Sarcastic.
Brendan. He's been here about 6 years, I think. So we've got Suter then. I think he's going to go out of them. The rest will stay.
Yeah, they'll all stay apart from Sutar. Yeah, even Vestergaard. I can't believe we're saying that. Can we, Kate? But Vestergaard. You look at you cross-eyed thinking about it.
James just said he wants to stay, and
I love JJ.
Yeah, I do. Well, Christensen, that was a bag of tross saying he's going anywhere. It's been cleared up.
Ricky P's too active on socials to go. I think.
Yeah, Thomas. I don't think we sell Thomas, but would you send him out on loan with who we've got there?
I think he needs confidence building back up massively.
Yeah, send him to loan on Rotherham or someone like that who's going to give him 90 minutes every week. It's not necessary. We won't look at their results, will we? We're looking at his performance, and then he can steady them up.
And Timmy C, I think we're trying to offload, hence him not playing. I think Juventus was on the cards, wasn't it? Isn't it somewhere else now? But
conveniently, he's changed his mind on Juventus since they've been booted out of Europe. How convenient.
I'm happy for him to go. If he doesn't want him, he's too expensive to keep as a reserve.
I've got to say to you that, I mean, if we're getting rid, I mean, I think if an offer comes in for Vestergaard, knowing that Cody isn't going to be fit until September, which is after a couple of weeks, probably after the window closes. And then obviously if he comes back, we don't know that he's going to come back. He's still going to take a couple of weeks then to get match fit. So we're probably looking at the end of September if there is no reoccurrence or he doesn't twinge something again. Kate, ask you on this. Do you sell Vestergaard in this window or not?
If you're getting rid of Suter, then no, because we can't be in the position again where if we have another injury, which isn't out of the question at all, we're down to bare bones and makeshifts again. And I think unless we bring someone else in, we've got to keep Vestergaard.
Well, we have got this man, Brad.
Yeah, Nelson. I mean, for me, I look at the way He's a youngster.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's academy. See, for me, I look at it a different way. I think against Burton, he had JJ coming into the middle of that defence, didn't he? He didn't really have him sticking as a left back option. He kept rotating him and Doyle around. Now, if you go off that basis, let's just say for some reason, let's say, I don't know, Fulham came back in for Vestergaard and gave us 2 million for him. I would be inclined to take them up on that, but only if Enzo feels that somebody can come in and do that role that Vestergaard's doing. If not, I'm with Kate in keeping him, because whilst you have the other options to put there, and obviously Christensen can go on the left, Doyle can come into more natural in the middle, etc. I think what he offers you in his passing ability would need to be compensated whilst we're waiting on Cody's return, which, like you said, Chris, could be end of September,
By
October.
the time he is match fit and ready to go. And I guess Vestergaard, like you say, I think if whoever comes in with the best offer, I guess, because if he's going to, I think he would be. I don't think we can afford to lose both Vestergaard and Sutar, Kate. And I guess Sutar's the more bankable one.
Yeah, probably he is. Yeah, absolutely. I think I'm probably likely to get the most money for him because he's only got more on his contract. I think he's way more marketable. So we probably will end up keeping Vestergaard unless we can get someone else in, which makes me weep a little bit, really. But that's the way it is.
Stopping with you, Kate. Sumare looks like he's had his day. Looks like he's on his way out, doesn't it?
Yeah, I don't know. Part of me feels a bit sorry for him because he had some personal problems, didn't he, at the start of his tenure with us. So he's just never really been able to make his mark, has he? I think we've all seen glimpses of what could be a player in there somewhere. When he can turn and run, I think he looks brilliant. He just doesn't do it very often. So just the wrong move for him. I think we're the wrong club for him. And he's not been included at all, has he? So yeah, he's going to go. So what number's that then? What are we on at the minute? 5?
I don't know. We've got about rid of half the
squad.
Here.
We've got rid of the 2 keepers. We've got rid of Sutar and Sumare.
Yeah,
I think all Brighton will be staying till the end of the season, Brad.
He's valuable. He holds a value. You've seen that.
Chowdhury, I think I would offer him another contract because I think what he's proved, if nothing else, is how versatile he is.
Yeah.
And he gives us that.
I did hear a rumour that Hamza's salary is more than Plymouth's, which really makes me sad.
Sorry. I'm trying to think, when did we sign a player called Plymouth?
No, it's more than the team Plymouth.
More than the complete squad.
Wow.
I think he's on 4 mil, and I think Plymouth is like 3.8 across the whole squad.
Wow.
So...
you do have to take into account that most of their players are probably on no more than 5 to 10 grand a week because they're League 2 1 players.
He's not a regular in our team, is he? He's not a stalwart.
No, but it's also not his fault that he got offered a probably long-term contract.
I like him a lot. I like a player who's a bit hard, to be honest. He's our most vicious player. I like that a lot about him, and he's always committed when he plays. And if he's got a place, then great, let's keep him. But if he's not got a place, he's expensive.
Do you offer him an extension? Because we've got to look. We look at the starting 11, Kate, but we've got to think we need a squad around that. When you look at our squad,
I think we do offer him because he's had a year with Watford last year, and he played a lot last year. So he's got the experience. He knows the league. He's really experienced now. And
I think Brad. Enzo seems to like him as well in a more defensive role. So he could. Do you agree with Samare's on his way? And again, is he victim to the bought by the manager that's no longer here?
No, I don't think so. In that sense, I think he was brought by the manager that didn't have a clue that you need to play players where they play and not where you want them to play.
Good point. Yes.
It's like I read your notes.
You wouldn't mean a certain
Bellend.
Would you, by any chance?
I don't know because nothing.
I didn't hear
That
that.
took a minute to play my end. That was weird. But I knew where he was going with it. You know what, Kate?
Did you
One of
not
these
see
days,
it, Kate? I'll have to play it again if Kate didn't see it.
Bell end.
I did. I saw it. It just that Brad cut out then.
Brad just loves me playing it.
I do.
He prefers this one, if I'm honest to you.
Why don't we sing that at the ground?
I don't know. It would be the obvious song, wouldn't it? You know.
Do you know what the worst thing is? I'd love to take credit for the fact that I was one of the first people that decided with the Kalechi Nacho being his magic one. I tried to get the Nacho Man song going, but no one liked it, and I feel like everybody's copying my homework. But Samari for me is a bit of a strange one because you look at how Enzo wants us to play, someone who can get on the ball, turn quickly, and charge forward, and we saw that in the latter part of the season with Samari. We have to remember was bossing Mendy and Ndidi out of the team. Even under the bell end, he was doing it. And we all thought, I was one that was thinking, well, sellable asset, get rid of Ndidi because he looks like he's done. It looks like he's fallen off. You know, try and get some money for him. And Samari takes that role and he's striding. For whatever reason, he hasn't. So for me, yeah, I don't want to see him go, but you're bringing in this young lad, albeit on loan for a year, but it's clogging up that midfield. And Dennis Pratt's jumped ahead of him in that situation. Chowdhury's come back and jumped ahead of him in the defensive line of things. So for me, yes, Samari goes.
Indeed, Kate, Pratt. I don't think Marcel and McAteer are going anywhere because I think they're still developing, aren't they?
The first two are now. They're clearly part of the plans, aren't they?
Started every game, haven't they? Or played every game.
I'm really hopeful for Pratt because I think everyone's probably in agreement that he's a quality player. It's just where you want to play him. And for his sake, he needs a position where he can feel comfortable and permanent rather than some kind of utility player that doesn't really work with that. So yeah, I'd be delighted if we can keep him because I think he can be class, to be honest. And Ndidi, we know what he can play like. He had a really bad hamstring injury, didn't he? Maybe start of January 21, and he was out for quite a long time. And I don't think the same players come back at all. So both times I've watched him, to watch him turn and move forward and pass forward, I'm like, who the hell is this? Because he just wasn't able to do that last year. So I think Enzo's brought a new lease of life and he just needs refining a bit. But they're both clearly part of the plans, so they're staying, I think.
With Kate, Ndidi, he is, like you say, for me, he'd fallen down the pecking order. I'd sooner have kept Mendy last season, if truth be known. I would have been quite happy if Ndidi had gone. But again, it's one of those things where new managers come in, and my God, it's like we signed another player, isn't it?
Yeah, he looks so reinvigorated, and it's like someone set his pants on fire. Really, it's unbelievable. He's just so full of it. Like he looks motivated. He looks keen. He looks excited to be playing again. And any manager who can do that absolutely has my backing, no matter what.
Brad Pratt, could he fill that Maddison role?
I think in a way, if he could fill not the Maddison role. I think that's going to be Winks' job, especially if and when. It sounds more like a when than if with the Chelsea loan he comes in because he'll free Winks up to be a bit more attacking. I think right now Winks is being told to he's going to have to do two roles for the moment whilst he gets his bodies in and the right players.
He's all over the bloody pitch, Winks, isn't he?
Yeah, he is. It's great to see. Love it. Absolutely. Already becoming an instant hit with the fans. And you love to see it. And that's one we know we're going to keep hold of because it's a permanent signing. But for me, I actually think he takes that number 8 role. I think he takes the Yuri role. Because if you really think about Yuri's role over the last 18 months at Leicester, he wasn't next to Maddison, was he? He was next to Ndidi. He was next to Mendy. He was doing that anchoring, supposed to be doing that anchoring role between the defence, the midfield and the attack, wasn't he? That's what his role was. I feel like Dennis Pratt offers you that because he's already got an assist, which was a great cross when he got out wide. He creates that extra body to attack with. He gives you an extra body to get behind the ball if we lose it as well. I think he's a utility midfielder. That was the word I was looking for to describe him. I don't think he has a number 10 role in him, especially if, and I hate to say it, if you look at his chance he had against Huddersfield, I think a number 10 puts that away, doesn't he? Or at least puts it one side.
A player that's just had more time on the pitch.
Yeah,
Very true. There was that argument as well.
I mean,
Yeah.
do you end up, and I'll stick with you, Brad, because you mentioned it, but do you stand up or end up with the utility player that just doesn't get a game because there's players better than him in every position that he could play in, and he comes on and has bit part roles through injuries and tiredness?
Well, I mean, that's something we'll really know in 8 or 9 games more time.
I'm asking you now, Brad.
And I think he could also be opponent dependent, couldn't it? Because if we play Cardiff, and I know Cardiff have been very indifferent in their start, they got hammered at the opening weekend, then they lost 2-1 at the weekend. So if they come at you, Dennis Pratt might be the ideal player instead of someone else instead of Ndidi in that midfield, because he'll take the edge out of it. He'll be able to press when they overcommit, whereas Ndidi does seem to be given that instruction from Enzo to race through the middle and get into the attack as much as possible. So it might ebb and flow between the two of them, and I'm all for it. I'm sure they are to compete against each other. It can really inspire them.
Kate, I mean, 3 games in, it's difficult to sort of at this point say that's what Enzo's plans are. But looking at this, it doesn't look like we're going to see settled. It's probably the wrong word that I'm looking for, but we're not going to see the same 11 week in, week out. It could be, like Brad said, opponent dependent as to who's on the pitch at the start of each game.
Yeah, that's how it should be, isn't it? That's what he'd have been used to at Man City. That's exactly how I want to play football, because we can't depend on the same 11. A, because of injuries. We've been screwed over by that before. And B, because of predictability. I think there was periods over the last couple of seasons where you don't even need to look at Leicester's team sheet. You know who's playing and where they're going to play. And that's something that's a detriment to us against good opposition, because they know what we're going to do. So I think we've got to use the same 15 or so players and mix it up. That's what he's there for.
Is it? Because do you remember when we were in the championship winning team side? Sorry, Nigel Pearson. You could predict that side 4 or 5 games in advance, but we were winning every week, so I suppose it was different, wasn't it?
Yeah, and everyone did their job really well. There was no, we'll just put him there because of injury, or we've not got a left back, so we'll put him there. We had people, their primary position was the one they played. So it was just a perfect puzzle that fit, wasn't it, in the championship season? And I'm not sure we're there. There was quite a lot of fortune that season. I'm just not quite sure we're there.
Yeah. Blue, you're asking about Vestergaard and Soutar. We discussed that earlier on in the show, so at the end, go back, watch it from the start, and you'll see us discuss that very question that you're asking. Kate, I'm going to stick with you because I know the answer I would get if I went to Brad when it comes to strikers. If an offer comes in for Iheanacho, do we sell him?
God.
Oh, she's thinking, Brad.
I really don't know. I mean, he frustrates me, and then in the same breath, I really love him. So he's just going to be expensive, and does the return warrant the cost? I think there'd be a cost-benefit analysis that'd have to be done with Iheanacho. What money we're going to get, him off the wage bill versus what goals he would create and score for us. It's a tough one. It's a real tough one, and probably a quandary that managers have had over the seasons with him. So I think it would probably depend on the price someone was willing to pay.
My worry is, Brad, that if obviously we've got Mavididi in the strikers there, where I think to me he's more on the side, and fantastic player. I mean, I'm looking. He's he's got moves in there I've not seen since Mahrez used to play on the wing. I mean, it is really exciting me. But if Iheanacho was to go, that would leave us Daka and Vardy. That to me is a scary thought for a season in the Championship.
Yeah, and not in the way you'd probably hope as Leicester fans, would you? You'd want Daka's pace that he's shown us in glimpses, and Vardy to be able to roll back the years and score 20 goals in the Premier League and taking that down to the Championship. But as it is, I don't really look. You know, I like Daka and I want him to do well, but he's not shown. And I know, again, you make the same argument as you could have done for Pratt and a few others. Needs the chance. My question is, if he's not even playing against Burton Albion in the cup, when's he going to get this chance? Because the longer it goes with Vardy starting, Nacho on the bench, and then Nacho starting and Vardy coming off the bench, you're going to make them two your predominant number ones. When's Daka going to get his chance and his run in the team? Because like Nacho, he's a confidence player. That's my concern. And for me, look, with the greatest respect, I love Nacho, but him and Daka. I never really mention it. But for me, Daka and Nacho, you're probably going to get the same, a mill either side for them.
I can't resist.
Every time. Leave me and my man love alone. Leave me alone, all right?
Once you start eulogising about Nacho,
I know. Well,
I hope he doesn't leave, because it means I won't be able to play that.
Well, I mean, here's the thing. We talk about, Christensen, who people have been misinformed that he's leaving when it's an injury, and even Enzo stated that. We talk about these contract situations. Now, for me, you don't get picked by Enzo from what he said unless there's an urgency to stay. And from what I've understood in some reports, is Nacho's getting offered a new contract. I know it's early days. I don't think there's anything, cemented on the table. But obviously, they're open to the idea that he's saying, "Well, if you want to be here, we don't want another Yuri Tillman scenario. So, as much as you want to be here, if you're not going to sign whatever they're talking about at the moment, sort of thing, I would be happier to see Daka leave than I would Iheanacho, because we know more about Iheanacho. He's been at the club longer, he's played more games, and we've seen that season where he scored 19 goals, Chris. So we know he's got the capability to score the goals. But like Kate said, the only problem we have with only having them as our striking options is it all depends on the signings we bring in that might change that. But who are you then going to bring in? Is you going to put Mavididi in that situation? I think you said that, Chris. Maybe Mavididi goes into that role. I'm ignoring the music. I'm just letting him play up to it. It's like a child. You've got to let him play with his toys. Otherwise, you'll never really end with it.
Oh, dear.
Whether you put the new midfielder into the team and you play him as a striker, and I'll shout as loud as you go. You just play up to a child until he shuts up. So he's gone silent now. He realises he's in trouble with me. I'll have words with you later, Chris. But yeah, sell Daka, keep Iheanacho and Vardy, and make Mavididi or the new lad the third choice striker that goes on there if you're going to use three.
Yeah, I mean, you said this earlier, Brad, and we'll get on and give you a chance to calm down over your excitement. But Kate, I mean, if it's a good job it's only filmed down to there with him, I'll tell you. But Kate, if we are going to go, well, if you think someone was going to come in for Iheanacho or Daka, would they have done it now? There's only 2 weeks of the transfer window left, and Brad made a very good point, and I know that's hard for a few regulars to believe, but he did make a very good point that, we've done the business earlier. We could maybe have got more money for Barnes or Maddison, but we didn't, because we wanted to get the money in so that we could start the rebuild, straight away, which we did. They've never known Leicester sort of do anything quite as quickly as they did. We don't want to be selling him on the last day, do we, when we're panicking, oh, God, now we're only down to so many strokes. We want to get them in. So would you not have thought an offer would have been made by now?
Yeah, I mean, you don't know that there's not, I guess. But, yeah, you would have expected something to happen. But sometimes with the Premier League in particular, because of the comings and goings and the FFP stuff, it's all very dominoed, isn't it? So you've got to wait for the first one to go. So there could be something like that at play in the background, particularly with some of the clubs that he's been rumoured to be linked with, like Everton, etc. They're not going to have loads of money to spend. So, or he may just be playing us off against each other, see what contract to get offered and make a decision. There's going to be so many things that hold it up. But yeah, you'd like to think that if there's less than a week to go, he's not for sale.
Yeah.
Because it's too stressful.
Yeah.
I mean, with Everton, you could argue they've put a bid in for all our players. I mean, Vardy, Nacho, Daka. I'm waiting for Wilfred and Didi and Bruce Stoichek to get offered by Dice at this rate, the way they're going for us.
Dan's in. Dan, the Burnley fan. Hey, mate. You had a good weekend away on your hollyhocks. How's life doing back in the Premier League? Oh, Dan.
Well, at least they lost to Man City, didn't they? It weren't like they lost 5-1 to Newcastle, is it, Chris? You know, so they could have had a worse start.
Yes, but well, I'm saying nothing. All I will say is, but for Leicester and probably for the Lionesses as well.
It's coming home. It's coming. Football's coming home. It's coming home. It's coming home. It's coming. Football's coming home.
Kate, we're gonna just a sidetrack because I've been watching it that I can do and it doesn't clash with my day job. Australia in the semis.
Yeah, it's a biggie, isn't it? Real biggie. They've got so much support as well. Everyone's behind the Matildas, aren't they? So
yes,
yeah, big loss with James not playing. It's going to be down to one of those. I think a lot of these final moments of a tournament is just down to how the cookie crumbles. It's not often down to necessarily talent and play because there's so many nerves, there's so much at stake. It's just about the luck on the day, really.
Yes, yeah. I mean, my favourite scored Russo. She can't do anything wrong for me. Just need to score another back heel off her. Brad, I mean, we're favourites now. We've got to be. All the other big nations have been knocked out. We've made hard work of it, but like Leicester against Huddersfield, they've shown resilience. At least we didn't go to 20 penalties like Australia did. It's looking good, isn't it?
Yeah, it is looking good. And look, England are a complete and utter different breed of animal under the manager they've got now. I think the only cursor that people have put onto it, and I didn't think it was these. I thought it was Austria, but apparently it was Australia because they went through like 40 games unbeaten, didn't they, in all competitions, and then they played. And I thought it was Austria, but apparently it was Australia who beat us on, who gave the manager her first and still only defeat. So that's kind of like, don't put the mocks on it, but that's like the cursor holding back on that one. But it was like a friendly, no one really cared about it. But you would imagine that if England, if they beat Australia, they're going to go on and make it back-to-back tournaments that they win. And England are a strong team. They've flown up the rankings in recent years. I mean, ever since the growing of the women's game, they've got better and better as well. You look at some of the talent that they've got throughout the country that play in the WSL, which Leicester ladies were looking for a third season at times of charm, weren't they, in that division? Just so, like I say, at least they know how to stay up. But there we go. I'll leave that one there for those that are interested in the women's league. But
and if we need Brad to just stay up, we'll talk Iheanacho.
Well, I didn't. Shut up. Shut up.
Very good.
Just shut up.
Thank you. Okay. I'm here all week.
Unfortunately.
Yeah, I can't get away with that on the morning show, but I can get away with it.
But yeah, it'd be good to see them, and they are favourites to win it.
Yeah. Boris says here, Brad, will stick with you. Why is Luke Thomas not playing? The championship would be perfect for him to get to the next level. I mean, we're winning. We could say, why isn't player B playing or why isn't player D playing? We're not losing. Why change anything that we don't need to?
I mean, yeah, and also, to be honest with you, I think he's fourth choice at the moment with Enzo. I mean, I didn't know Doyle was going to predominantly be out on that left. We all assumed it was going to be a defensive three, or he was going to be there with FaZe, or Maybe Kate thought it was going to be Sutar and him in there, but he's playing left back. You've got JJ, who's now back and available, so he's been playing. He can play left back. Christensen is injured. I'll reiterate that for the 900th time in 3 days. But when he's fit, which apparently he is now for this weekend and available, that's a third left back. Where does he get in? Where does he get in the team? Because I think a year or two ago we'd have been panicking at the idea that Castagnet wanted to leave. But now we're very, very much secured on them numbers. They can play left and right back. We got Albrighton, could also fill in and play there as well, and we've seen that already. So should he be playing in the Championship? Yes, but that's why I said I don't think we lose him, but I think he goes out on loan because he's just not going to get in this team, especially why it's not losing games, Chris.
Yeah. Kate, I mean, Jerison Raksaki, for God's sake. I got so happy when we signed Harry Winks and Connor Cody. I thought, great players I can pronounce. But I'm sure they do it just for shirt sales, But Jerison Raksaki from Crystal Palace, Hodgson, I don't know why I keep saying it. I'm my own worst enemy. Hodgson doesn't want him to go.
Yeah, I mean, that's quite telling in itself, isn't it? It's obviously up for grabs. We'll just have to watch this space. You just never know sometimes how true these rumours are, but there's quite a lot of heat coming from this one, though, isn't there? So it would suggest that maybe we're in talks with him, and it depends whether the boys calm down from the weekend or not, doesn't it?
Well, I was going to say you're reading my notes again, aren't you? What? There's life in the old dog yet. I'm not talking about Brad.
Just strangling like Pearson.
Yes. I haven't really seen it properly. What actually happened?
The ball came out of play, and it kind of bounced near Roy, and then rather than just grab the ball for the throw-in, the player sort of pushes Roy in the stomach, quite near the crotch area. Actually, it wasn't the crotch area, but he pushes him quite hard, almost like a bit of, not a punch because he didn't have his fist clenched, but like a real shove in the stomach. So Roy kind of like buckles a bit and goes absolutely bananas, like people were holding him back.
Yeah,
it's absolutely brilliant.
We never saw that with our last manager, did we?
Oh, no.
No, we could have taken our last manager to the zoo and he'd have got lost with the seals, yeah.
Yeah.
At least we're seeing some effort from our new manager, though, aren't we?
Well, yes.
I think Brendan can jump that high.
Not all 3 foot of him, no, he can't, Kate.
Mountain says, do you think we'll have some issues with set pieces in the Championship that we had last season, Brad?
I mean, it does look like an area that managers are already pinpointing. It's been an Achilles heel of Leicester for years on end, though. I mean, it's not something that I don't think any team in the world has ever figured out a solid way to stop conceding from them. I think our regularity in conceding from them is going to dramatically drop because the quality of the crosses coming in, with the greatest respect from certain players, is going to be manageable. I think we're a lot more organised defensively as a unit because, unlike a bell end, this manager actually seems to know whether he wants them to be zonal or man marking, so he doesn't change it every 25 minutes into a game, which we saw under Brendan. But yeah, they're still going to cause issues. I mean, look at the first goal we conceded. Yeah. It was a corner, flicked on header, so yes, but not as bad as what we've been accustomed to over the last 2 or 3 seasons.
And last question, and we'll let this one go to Kate. Scott just says, where do you think we will still need to strengthen?
In my opinion, right wing and centre-back seem to be obvious. But yeah, I think centre-back definitely. And I think strikers for me, whether we have an out-and-out striker. The 3 that we've got, because of the debates that we keep having, they're not cutting it, are they? We've got no regular that you'd say, yeah, without question, he's got to be on the team sheet. So I'd like to see a centre-back, top and tail, basically, centre-back and a striker of some capacity, whether that's an out-and-out number 9 or more like a Harry Kane 10 goal-scoring position. I don't know.
Well, they're after a striker, aren't they?
Yeah, unlucky rabbit.
We can trick him into thinking Vestergaard's striker. I said about Wout Faes being like the Matt Elliott of the day. If we tell Dan that it's really Vestergaard, maybe they'll buy him, Kate.
Yeah, maybe, yeah. And then figure out he can't head the ball. Brilliant.
No, well, that's for them to find out, not for us.
No, this is true. This is true. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for joining me this evening. It has been a pleasure. Well, it has for me. I'm not sure whether it has for you or not. Only you can answer that. We're going to be back on this channel on Wednesday morning at 11. If my car is back from its MOT hospital appointment, then I will be here on Wednesday doing a watch along for the women's semi-final. Otherwise, us lot will all be back next week. Kate, give a shout out as to where people can find you.
I'm on Twitter at KTB44. I think my Twitter handle name is at KateBlakey40. But yeah, KTB, KATEYB. Yeah, hopefully speak on Twitter.
Yep, get over there and give her a follow. Thank you very much. Have a good week. Go and detox. I know you've still got wine in your blood, so have a good. We have
back on Saturday for some pre and post match, hopefully as well.
Oh yes, for Cardiff. Yes. Are we at home or away for that one?
We're at home.
We're at home. Home for the visit of the Welsh. I will see you on Saturday, Kate. Thank you so very much.
See you later.
All the best.
Take care.
Bye bye. Brad, where can people find you and what do you do when you're not on here?
Well, I can't disclose that information. It's too personal. But I do host
the videos, mate. We've seen the videos.
Yeah, I host the post the preview show on here and the prediction show on here, so you can always catch most of that. But you can find me on our sister channel, LTID TV2, the quiz channel, which, all being well, we will have Tyson Fury, aka Josh, one of our own, on here. He will be taking on the 1 million point drop as a quiz. So if you haven't already, do go head over to that channel, give it a subscribe, check out the videos so you get an idea of what to expect. And that should be Wednesday, 7 p.m, all things going well. Josh has said he's going to do it. We all know what Josh is like with his married life and personal life. So hopefully everything stays honky-dory for him and he will be on. But yeah, you can check us out there for quizzes.
Don't get jealous, Brad, because he's the only one of us that has got a personal and private life.
Yeah, I know. I'm sorry. I don't want to disappoint me fans, which is none of them. But to all 0 of you, I don't have a life.
Brad is on OnlyFans, so if you want to unsubscribe, now's the time to do it. But it tells you all about it up above. Look, the modern graphics that we have here. Brad, thank you so very much, sir. And I will see you possibly, more than likely, on Thursday.
Possibly, most likely, yes. And I've got to search the land for a Cardiff fan to get in touch with on Twitter. So
I don't think he's missed.
Well, if in doubt, I might get really desperate and ask Mike.
Yeah, well, he's well. But anyway, if you're going to ask Mike, you might want to get our friend in.
Which friend's that? Go on, find the button. No, nothing played my end. Didn't see it. Try again, Chris.
I'm not trying that. That's 2 sheep you've had there.
Well, cheap. I had an idea it was going to be old Sean, but if in doubt, it'll probably make more sense than Mike.
I was a bit cold the other day, so I crossed the sheep with a kangaroo and got a woolly jumper. Brad, I'll see you on Thursday, possibly. Take care, buddy.
Yeah, I'll see you.
Thanks a lot. I'll let him go before he commits harikiri. Thanks very much, guys, for watching, and thanks for listening if you've been doing that on your favourite podcast platform. Thanks to everybody that was in the chat for joining in. Thanks to Kate. Thanks to Brad. And it's been a pleasure having you all on. I've been Chris. This has been LTID TV. And this, if I can line it up right, is going to be Arnie. I will see you on Wednesday morning, fingers crossed. Come on, you lionesses.
Thanks for watching. These videos are tremendous. You better like them too, or I'll be back.
This podcast is proud to be part of the TalkSport Fan Network. TalkSport. Powered by fans.
That will conclude this evening's entertainment.